Okay, so we brought back an already familiar guest
Yeah.
to the podcast because we had fun last time we had him on, and we
Yeah.
said we must bring him back so we
Yeah.
can continue talking shit.
I
So,
hated the last time I was here. I don't like
wiser
your tone.
observer, fables and fallacies. A bigger lie has never been told.
Right.
But we have wiser observer, aka Tuma, aka my childhood homie, back on
Yeah.
the podcast. And we have no plan for this conversation. We just came in and we're like, let's just talk shit for Tuma because it's fun. So
Again,
that's the
it's
plan.
nice to be here.
Yeah, all three of us are in some form of disarray
Yeah.
for this episode.
Yeah.
So it might get rough and tough
Mhm.
at some point, but we move.
We
We
move.
go forth and we prosper. So anyway, yeah.
Mhm.
Tuma, what have you been up to since we last spoke about you and
yeah.
your music and stuff? New directions,
was
new
the last time? Last year?
destinations.
Mm.
Yeah, last year. So goodness. So a
Was
lot
it
of
last year?
I think so.
Yeah, it was early last year.
Yes, it was.
Mm.
I'm just remembering the landmarks in my head now. Goodness.
Yeah.
Fiverr's been doing well. Goodness, I think we're delayed. Fiverr's been doing well.
Nice.
But I've not released any new music as of yet. Well, first of all, I got hacked this year, which has never thought that could ever happen to me.
Yeah.
So like a lot of my
Yeah,
stuff, like I
that's
had
crazy.
to make sure my laptop was safe and make sure my like my buyers on Fiverr, they weren't compromised and stuff like that. That was easily one of the most rattling things in my life. I felt so vulnerable. But yeah, I mean, but
It
I'm
sounded
better
crazy
now.
when you were telling me.
100.
I was like, yes, sis.
Because like almost getting into my email account, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Again, luckily
Yeah.
for Google is like on top of this stuff, and they're like, why is this account from this country you're not from trying to get into your email?
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you were
imagine,
like, say
'cause it-
less.
Say less. So if that was compromised, it would have been done. But otherwise, the music is there. I think there's just a couple of features missing. Then I have to work on the content is short for. I just have to work on the
Nice.
album art and I think a couple more features on a couple of songs, and then it's done. So I'm hoping like middle of this month or maybe September that's what's gonna be out. But otherwise, things have
Okay.
been good. Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned Fiverr last time.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so like Tuma basically works on commission with music. What do you do all on Fiverr? It's production and you write verses?
Featuring, ghostwriting. So when I first started out, featuring, ghostwriting, and voiceovers. Now I've expanded. So now I have those three, and then
Okay.
also writing poetry, creating content, and there's one more thing. I forgot what it is. Oh, I recently put up now a rap coaching gig. So I've only had like 3 clients now, but like it seems to be something what people want. So hey, I just want to try out
nice.
everything
Okay,
and then
that's cool.
just keep making it more and more efficient because I like money, guys.
I mean, we in this economy,
Yeah.
like
And I just want to say, going back to the songs that you were talking about, like the album, as an album, right? You wanted to release, like what are the songs about? What inspired you with this album?
So no, not an album, but I do
Okay.
I do record like it is an album. Then I release singles week per week.
Okay.
So inspiration for me, I think in university was the only time where I really felt inspired to make a song. So the way I do it now is just write, and then sometimes you do stumble on inspiration, which is great because you knock out a song within 10 minutes because everything is just flowing. But majority of the songs I record first, the following week listen back, and then refine the following week, work on the beat, following week on the mixing and stuff like that. because I feel now like if I have a cutoff, then I can't. That way, I don't have to go crazy about like, is it good or is it not? I just use my gut and then just go on
Mm,
there. That's the
yeah.
easiest way to do it. And funnily enough, like me doing that, I start to hear the melodies better. So like I already have something I'm humming, and then I just have to put words to it. So for me, putting writing the words is very easy because as a rapper, like
Hmm.
you can write it down and you can see the technicalities and what you're trying to do. For me, it's making a chorus or a hook. That is very tough because that's the item that you
Mm,
want people singing along.
Yeah,
So if that doesn't work, you can have the most
yeah.
exactly.
amazing lyrics, but nobody's. It's a song. It's supposed to be about the Sonics. So like, yeah, as inspiration is great,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
doesn't
Yeah.
happen as often as it used to anymore.
okay. And
Okay.
then like when you experience like creative blocks, right? Because I know like we all experience creative blocks. Like how do you manage that, or how do you deal with that?
Like again, like luckily for me, I just have to. If it's that week, I try to at least write the hook. And then that way,
Okay.
even if it's garbage, that way I'm also okay with it because like, I know I can't write anything. This is going to be garbage, but
Mm.
finish it.
The pandemic, right, with like all the
Mm,
restrictions and whatever, it had a big effect on the
mm.
music industry. So I want to know if that changed the way that you perceive your music or change your creative process, because I know that for a lot of people, like a lot of the musicians that I've spoken about how they did things during the pandemic, they had to
Mm.
shuffle things around because obviously restrictions were in place, they couldn't go to the studios that they normally go to, stuff like that. So has it like altered your process in any way?
Um, yes, I think one of the things that ended up happening because of the pandemic. Also, first of all, I forget how wild the time was. um,
Dude,
it became
well,
where like, because usually I just write the lyrics down and then figure out the delivery. But because I was staying with that time when we were all in quarantine, I was staying with my mother, my sister, um, her kid, and it was a lot. So I had to start
mm,
recording, regardless of how I felt about the delivery, just so I could remember the melody. And but now I do that now. As soon as I write, I record it down. That way I don't have to figure out the delivery later. So that was dope. In terms of like performing and stuff, that was I never really liked performing. For me, it just seemed like too much of a hassle to the 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 outcome didn't balance out with how much input I had to put in. You have to memorize the songs, perfect how you're gonna be on stage, and then majority of the time you're getting paid peanuts or not getting paid at all. So I was just like,
mm,
it's just not worth it. So for me, the live performance thing didn't really affect me.
yeah.
But outside of that, for me, I really write from experience. But like if you're always in quarantine, it became mundane after such a long time, and I could
Mm-hmm.
not write about anything. So that's where that thing came in because I had no inspiration, so I just had to start
Yeah.
writing,
Yeah,
regardless.
that's so crazy because like I do visual art, right? Not so much auditory art at all. But um I do visual art and I can just like I can do
Mm,
that wherever because I'm either picking up a pencil or a pen and like doodling or going in Photoshop and drawing over there, or
Hmm.
I'm taking my phone and taking pictures and like editing the pictures or whatever. But like I don't think very many people stop to think about how much musicians put their experience into their music,
Hmm.
and how much the pandemic must have just been a stage of stagnation and a
Yeah.
half, because it's like what are we actually every day we're
yeah.
doing the same shit, but like at home, like we're not really out there living life right now. We're kind of all on pause in this like really strange way where we have no option but to be on pause, you know what I mean? So it's not like
Hmm.
you could really
Mm.
do anything about it. um
Yeah.
and like that then like makes me want to ask you, how much of your life do you share in your music? Like are
Mm.
you like all in, or are there things where you're like, okay, let me just make a young boundary here because that would be like overshare, or are you just comfortable letting it all out because this is a release? Or
That's funny that you bring that up because I've had someone ask me the same question, I think just recently. I usually what I put in my
mm,
music, stuff I've already processed. I don't treat making music as a journal, because that just doesn't work for me. I've tried it before, it just doesn't work for me. For me, I need to understand what
Okay.
happened, because that way I can be technical about it. That way I can be like, okay, what word should I use to try and make it, to try and capture this emotion? If I try and treat it as a journal,
Okay.
it's gonna be a rubbish song, regardless. Even though it's gonna be high emotion, it's not gonna make a good song. Journals are great, but that doesn't mean you can also just write a novel. These things like require finesse. So if I understand my emotion, I
Yeah.
can make a song about it. So like if once I understand it, I'm okay with sharing it. I think Ghana, you know this about me. It's like if I can make a joke about like anything bad in my life, then I know I fully understand
Yeah.
it. Then I know I can put it in a song.
Okay, that's interesting.
But everyone's different.
I don't think I've ever heard a musician put it that way. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to ask
Oh wait,
y'all
look,
a
I can look.
question.
I can look.
Oh.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay.
Okay.
Not the switcheroo.
Y'all's inputs on AI and musicians right now. Where do you think this is heading?
Terrible
It's
places.
scary. To me, it's just scary. Plain out scary. Hello?
I'm terrified. I hate. There's like this account. There's like a couple of accounts on TikTok
Yes.
that make other musicians
We said,
sing other
oh
musicians'
my
songs.
God. I'm like, no, no,
Uh-uh.
no, no.
It's like, please stop it.
Yeah, no, it's scary. It's
I
really
hate this.
scary.
It
But
makes me
I'm
so
wondering, like, would they like? I don't know. I don't know. I can't even imagine, like start to imagine like how AI would like take over, like with music. That's just crazy. Like it's just unreal. What do you think? Because you remember like they started. Okay, well, this is not the music industry. This is the fashion industry. Remember they had like this virtual model,
Yes.
and this virtual model was like booking
Yeah.
gigs with like big brands. Like,
Mhm.
do you think like they would do that with music? Like make a virtual artist and like have them with the AI sound have their vocals be
Yeah. So
I
like that's scary.
100%.
virtual artist thing already exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Japan.
Mm.
They have a
Ooh.
super famous virtual artist. People
That's
actually go to the
crazy.
concerts and
Yeah.
stuff to see it's a hologram. She's a
Okay.
hologram. But it's obviously I don't think the music is AI generated. I think that's actually somebody who's singing, but the face of the voice is this hologram. It's like an anime girl basically, but like a 3D one. So I think that will continue to happen. Like I remember I was already really uncomfortable with the hologram situation, in terms of people posthumously using holograms of musicians on stage, like musicians that had passed away.
Yeah.
That already made me uncomfortable in the past because I was like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Like my brain couldn't adjust to me knowing that they had passed, but I'm also seeing them on stage in a way
right.
that's almost realistic. So the AI thing freaks me out because first of all, the way robots are developing already freaks me out.
Yeah.
So now you're telling me I must be concerned about the robots and the AI. And it yeah, no, it only freaks me out because we're gonna become redundant as a
100%.
species.
Yeah.
And that's a bit insane to me. I was like, I feel like we've lived through enough. Why? Why do we have to deal with AI and
Yeah.
scary robots? Sophie the robot. Oh my god,
No.
she terrifies me.
Mhm.
She terrifies me in big ways. I'm so scared of her. But like, yeah, no, but like the AI thing, where it is right now in terms of for music specifically, you can tell at least when it's AI.
Yeah.
In terms of vocals,
Yeah.
at the very least.
Yeah.
Instrumentals are different. Beats and instrumentals are a bit different. You can't
Yeah.
necessarily tell with that, but
No.
with vocals, you can at least tell. So it's like a little less daunting. But the truth of the matter is that AI learns from experience.
I was just about to say.
So it's just gonna keep getting better.
Better.
And like we're already seeing how terrible that's going with images and videos and
Yeah.
people creating things that don't exist and other people thinking that the things are real.
Are real. And it's moving so quickly, and that's what
It's moving
scares
quickly
me.
and moving to very dangerous areas where like they started creating like porn of people who don't do porn. Just yesterday, I saw a video of a girl on TikTok being like, somebody fucking DM'd me on my Instagram and sent me pictures that I have posted on Instagram where I'm fully clothed, but in that version, I'm naked. And I've never
Hello?
taken these pictures before.
No, no, no.
And like, you see, so it's already getting to really dangerous territories. And like the only reason that's the one reason that I think it's scary, because it's just not regulated.
Yeah.
It's not regulated. It's gonna have to be. We're gonna see laws starting to develop because of AI.
Mhm.
But until those laws come into fruition and until we start seeing real consequences for the people who do stuff like this, I'm gonna continue to be scared of it, because it could be literally anybody. This girl is just like a random girl, you know what I mean, on the internet, who's just living her life. And I'm like, is that not terrifying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think there was. I do have hope though, because like especially when ChatGPT came out, there was a student. I don't know
ChatGPT is
what
fun.
what universe. It's very fun. But even at that time when I first started like checking it out, I was very impressed. But also that's when my fear started coming in. I was like, this is way too impressive. But anyway,
Yes.
so like my hope is still there, because there was a guy who, one university student, an American guy, he had invented some software to be able to tell when when the essay is from an AI or actually written. So I do have hope in that sense. So like that way you can run stuff, a video through some software to make sure that like it's actually legit. But that's the only hope I'm holding on to, and that hope is a thread.
No, yeah, because like I'm saying, is it not a bit insane that that's gonna have to be us in the future? We're gonna have to double verify, triple verify.
I just had a thought, right? Like with the AI stuff, like for songwriters, do you think like in the future they would need songwriters? Because like the AI can write lyrics. So what do you think about that?
It's so funny. I think I worked with some guy on Fiverr last year, and he was making an app for a rap ghostwriter. And so what he was doing was just buying a bunch of rappers to write a bunch of lyrics, so he can obviously feed the algorithm so he can learn. And so I think not. I think it's gonna become a dead art. I think the only people who will survive is people who have a fan base. But I don't think it's gonna be one of those territories who'll be like, you'll be credited for your skill anymore, because it won't be needed. It's very frightening. I think what scares me about AI is that, first of all, like computers and cell phone technology is great in terms of performance. Like you have a lot of shit to do, it makes it more efficient. AI is scary because it kills creativity. It kills it absolutely. And that's the frightening thing. Because if, as humans, that's our most impressive trait. We find ways to do things. And if we don't have that, we are redundant.
No, really, because like I actually, one of the rap groups that I follow, Epic High, the frontman of the trio, he actually asked Chat GPT. He was like, write me an Epic High style rap.
Interesting.
And it actually did really well, despite an Epic High style rap having to be in both Korean and English.
Interesting.
And it actually did really well. Like he posted it and he was like, it genuinely sounds like, it almost sounds like us. Like, but you can tell it's like not quite, but it almost sounds like us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think that's actually what we're gonna start getting, is like really repetitive types of types of lyrics and forms of songwriting, which I think is why songwriters won't necessarily become redundant. I think they will become, maybe they will have to really hone in on having a style of their own.
Okay.
Rather than becoming like, rather than being a songwriter for like, the general audience of musicians who work with songwriters or whatever, they're gonna have to make it their own. So it's gonna have to be, this songwriter's style that people are after, rather than any song about this topic.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
that's the feeling that I get. Of course, I could be completely wrong. Like one never actually fucking knows with this shit. But but that's the feeling I get because so far a lot of the AI generated stuff has been very repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Even the types of photos that it generates and stuff. Yes, it
Yeah.
generates photos of people we've never seen before, but they all look more or less the same. Like if
Same.
you see the photos that AI generates of like group settings,
Mm-hmm.
all of the people look really similar to each
Mm-hmm.
other. Like you could say it
Mm-hmm.
was a family of like people. So yeah, I think until AI gets to a point where it can make genuinely unique content, we are still winning. But
Mm-hmm.
once it learns those things, it's over for us.
Yeah. And talking about creating unique content, like Tuma, for you in the, let's say, the recording process or writing process, like what is your most favorite thing in that, like just making music in general? What do you enjoy the most?
I like those rare occasions when I do get inspiration, but after that, I really like when I write something down and in my head it doesn't sound dope, but I try it out. Oh, because I always try. Let us hear it, and it sounds amazing compared to what's in my head. I really like those moments because it confirms that I'm overthinking this. I'm
Mm.
overthinking this because like it should just be fluid. Look, this is just for me. There's some artists who have to work on some stuff for days, weeks. Fine,
Yeah.
absolutely fine for them. It's all creative. There's no one way to go down to that path. But for me, those kind of moments, it makes me feel much better because I am definitely overthinking. Because you're trying to catch
Yeah.
it, in essence, you're trying to capture a vibe or a mood. If you overthink it way too much, it starts losing that potential, and that is
Yeah.
the worst because now
Yeah. Yeah.
this is not it's not fun anymore, and
Yeah.
that is horrible.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not fun and it's not authentic as well, because I think
Yes,
that brings
authenticity,
more.
100%.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy because for me, when I was making music, when I
You are a
when I
musician.
was
What genre are you making?
I used to
He was
make
he was an R&B
R&B, hip
R&B.
hop kind of
Yeah.
Nice
thing. Yeah.
Chardonnay.
When I when I made music, right? The thing that I enjoyed the most about making music is actually like the mixing and mastering, like
Mm,
putting the song together.
mm,
Because like, okay, writing would not be so tough,
mm,
because like I would be like inspired like very often, and I would just put my experiences into like my music, like we were just talking.
mm,
But what I love the most is like when I actually record the song and I sit with the producer and we actually like mix and master and like put it together. I love that because then I can hear the tone of my voice and how I
mm,
would want it to sound and where I want this to be placed, or if I want to bring back a verse or like a little
mm,
snippet of something that I said. So like actually like putting the music together is what I love,
mm.
because it's just like it's fun. I don't know. It's just fun. It's like creative. I don't know how to explain it, but I just love
That's
that
my
part.
least favorite part of the process.
No, really? Oh
But
my
that's because you're
god.
the one doing the mixing and the mastering,
Fair,
Tuma.
fair.
You
I'll
have
give
the
you that right.
degree.
Fair.
Yeah, for real. Okay, it makes sense because I'm not doing it. I'm just next to the producer. I'm like, okay, can you do this? Okay, I like this, but can you
Yeah.
move this?
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it. But I
Uh,
enjoy
I
that
think
part. Yeah.
I do enjoy that process if I'm doing it for other people's music, not mine, because I'm tired
Yeah.
of hearing this shit, bro. Like it's annoying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel you. It's so funny how like universal that feeling is.
yeah.
because
Right?
because when I was in art school and we were working on a project for like a month, right? By the end of the project, I was like, I'm so sick of my own drawing. I don't like it anymore. I don't like it anymore. I can't even really explain it
No, for
anymore
real.
because I'm not sure what happened between
Yeah.
my first idea and what the outcome was. It's been reviewed by so many people
Mm,
that gave so much input that it became theirs and no
mm,
longer mine. And that's
For real.
like that's like one of the things that I always like asking people. Like, do you think it's worth it
Mm,
going into education, like formal, like tertiary education
mm.
for creative fields like music and like art, as somebody who's going to be the musician or the artist, not the
Pers-
person who does the technical stuff, because that you obviously have to learn.
Personally, no. I don't think it's worth it at all. Let me say this. I am very grateful that I went to go study sound production. I made a lot of great
Yeah,
friends. I had a great experience. But
yeah,
I would have saved a lot more money and a lot more time if I had just
hmm,
interned somewhere for a year. I would have.
yeah,
The only thing, because I learned the quickest when, because I was that the university put us in internships because it was part of the requirement. I learned more in those times. With the lecturers, again, they're very great people, but like the theory and writing down and taking tests, you
yeah,
don't learn that way. Because most people who are in creative fields, we're not academically inclined like that. So we
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
need
We're
that
doers.
experience firsthand. So I
Yeah,
don't think it's necessary or important at all. If you have the money, go for it because it's great being around other creators. It's fucking
hmm,
dope. But
yeah,
otherwise, absolutely not. And also, like
yeah.
everything I learned there, I ended up for all my practical tests, I ended up having to go on YouTube to relearn that stuff anyway. So like, it's just as for me, it's
Yeah,
pointless. But if you have the money, absolutely go for it.
yeah. You see, I feel the same way because I I've mentioned this multiple times, and I mentioned it multiple times in life as well. I went to art school in Cape Town,
Mm,
um, and like by the end of it, I was proud of myself
mm,
for graduating, and I was proud of myself for making as much art as I made.
mm.
But I was also like, what a waste of 3 years. Because at the end of the day, right, for the Photoshop, I think the Photoshop, well, the whole Adobe suite, really,
Mm,
I think those lectures were the most valuable
mm.
as a graphic designer.
Mm.
But in that case, you can take a course that's just that
Yeah.
in like
Right. 6
6 months.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there for 3 years
Yeah.
doing multiple things. It's granted, I did printmaking, I did figure drawing, I did like what's it called, still life drawing, I did painting, I did a lot of cuck that at the end of the day I don't use.
Yeah. For
They're
real.
not skills I use.
For
And like
mm.
I like feedback. I'm fine with feedback because I like to learn and I like to grow. I really thrive as somebody who loves learning shit. If I could always be a student, I would. Because I enjoy learning so much.
Yeah.
But I started hating the feedback sessions in art school.
She's like, I hated it.
Yeah, no, I hated it because I was like, this is what I want. But the teachers were like, but you have to do
To
it
do
this
this
way.
way.
And I'm like, but that's not what I want. Like, that's not what I want. I understand you want it to look a certain way, but that's not what my art looks like.
Looks
Please
like.
stop it.
Yeah.
it, was
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
it was so frustrating to month after month, week after week, finish a brief and get to the end of the brief only to be like, I don't fucking like this. I don't like this
No.
because this is not what I originally
Yeah.
intended to make. Creative fields are really there for you to just be
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make, and the people who like what you make will always be there.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
But I don't
And
like that we have like that when you go and study it, you get molded into this little
yeah,
very specific box
Mm.
because it's
because they want you to have the same technical skills
yeah,
that every artist has. And I'm
has
like, okay, but I'm not interested in those technical
technical
skills
skills.
because that's not the direction I'm trying to take with my art. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
I'm also
mhm.
grateful. I made lifelong friends at
Mm.
art school. I learned a lot of stuff,
Mm.
but I wasted time.
Yeah, it's just like I was thinking like with music school, like because like in Rotterdam there is a music school where you can study vocals, and like they were like training your vocals and training you to like to sing pop and different kind of genres, and I'm like, okay, but I could just go to like a vocal teacher
Coach.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like she could just teach me because like my vocal coach, she graduated from Berkeley,
Mm.
so I'm like, why would I go to like the
Yeah.
music school when I could just go to like my vocal coach who graduated from Berkeley? She can teach me
Mm.
like everything. You know what I mean? So yeah. Yeah.
I think
And to like you said, sorry, and to like you said, like with the lecturers, like they're gonna like mold you into what they want you to sound
100%.
like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring
And
up.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I don't want to sound like this, like why are you teaching me this? Because then when I have a vocal exam or whatever and I sing it my way, you're gonna be like, no, it doesn't sound right. And I'm gonna be like, okay, but this is how I want to
Yeah,
sound.
Yeah.
So yeah.
it's hard. That's a downside of like these kind of institutions. Like you, because like there's a lot of artists who I personally don't like, but they have a huge
Yeah.
following, so clearly it works for them. So like there's
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. I had my one of my favorite lecturers was the way he would do assignments was like, especially when it came to the mix. He taught the mixing side of the course. He would make us justify our reasons, because that way he can't
Mm.
just mark off this sounds bad or this sounds good. He'll be like, why did you make
Yeah.
this decision? And if it
Mm.
makes coherent sense, you'd get a high grade. Because if you are
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
willy-nilly about, then you know you can't justify it, and then that way you'll get a bad grade. I love that
That
guy
makes
to this
sense.
day.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
caught so
We
much
had
flack.
Yeah, we had that same situation in art school because like we'd finish a project, we'd go around everybody's stuff, and everybody had to explain their projects, and we'd have a debrief, we'd get feedback, whatever. That's how we'd get graded because we didn't actually do exams. Our exams was like collecting everything we made in that academic year, putting it up in an assigned space, and then the teachers look it over and they debrief your whole year. That's basically what our exams were like. So we'd have the debrief where you would explain why you did things the way you did,
Mm,
but we like we had to use so much theory in that as well.
mm,
Mm.
So it couldn't be like it felt right in my soul
mm.
to do it this way. It had to be like I chose the color blue because blue elicits this feeling.
Mm.
And
That's a
like
lot.
blue is a corporate color, so I would put it in a corporate logo
Yeah.
type of thing like that. And like I used the sans serif font because I wanted to be light on the eyes or whatever. Like we had to use the theory that we were learning, which makes sense. That's how education works in general. That's how
Yeah.
exams are for any course. Even with our music management course, we had to like put in everything that we learned in the year in our exams.
Mm-hmm.
But in art it just feels so silly.
Mm,
It feels
100%.
so silly. It feels so silly to do that because you're meant to be experimenting and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I feel like
Mm.
you're meant to be going, I don't know, it just felt right to do it like this, so I did it like this and it looks cool. Like, and that's fine. And that's fine. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. But look, there's some people who really thrive off of getting these forms of
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
I'm just not one of them.
And it's so crazy because even with our music management course, like it was when I started it, it was like completely different to what I expected it to be. Did
Hmm.
you? Did you expect it to be the way that it was?
Kind of. Well, I mean, because I saw the whole syllabus.
I did as well, but I was like, okay.
I look, it was
how,
it
how
was
do they
slightly
even
different. It was a
practically
lot
do
more.
that?
Well, we get taught stuff like negotiation skills. We get
Oh,
taught
I see.
marketing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
we get
like
taught
like the
marketing. We get taught research skills. We get taught also like the theory behind like artist management
Okay.
and
yeah. Yeah.
event management
Okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah, but they did a good twist on it because, like, if we had negotiation skills, like I remember that class, we negotiated like an artist with a record label, right? Was it that?
Um, we did it. We've done it like twice. So the one was like Taylor Swift to collaborate with like Coca Cola.
Oh yeah, so a brand partnership, and
Yeah, and then
then
the other one was the record label
record
deal
labels. So they
contracts.
would like make us negotiate with like the contracts and what is better for the artist or what is better for the
Okay.
label and stuff like that. So things like that. It was pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I wish that a lot more of our modules were practical
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I think we would have learned it so much better.
Yeah.
Like the
And
negotiation was very practical. We did it like every year of our course. We had some kind of a negotiation that we had to do, and it was practical. Um, but there were so many other things that I was just like, I wish we could actually apply this because
Yeah.
my brain would understand it a lot better, and it
Mm-hmm.
would just be more useful for our career because we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
jump into this and we're gonna have to immediately start applying these things, but we don't know what it feels like to do that.
Okay, so like with the event stuff, we got chance to like actually put it to practice, so that was cool. With
Yeah,
the art, with a bit of the artist management stuff as well.
yeah,
But what I would have loved is like with like the marketing stuff, like if we actually like
exactly.
did a project where we actually applied the marketing instead of just doing theory. So like making a marketing plan, or like making a social media plan, or just doing the research, like actually apply it. So like, no, yeah, for real. And like Tuma was saying earlier, like a lot of creatives are not, like academically inclined like that. So
Yeah.
like putting those practicalities in it would be like, like much easier for us
Yeah.
to learn and understand. So
Hmm.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, Tuma, did you guys have like, obviously you guys had to make tracks and stuff, but did you guys have to ever put together like a concert or something to showcase what you guys are doing? How?
She's like, how?
The word
The
wasn't coming.
first year was a lot of theory.
Mm,
Second and third were fantastic because there's a lot of practicality. We did for
mm,
our last year have to throw a concert, but to be fair, this was because so at your final year you have
mm.
to get a certain amount of hours interning somewhere. So
Yes, same for
usually,
us.
like in the beginning, they'd be like, okay, these are the companies we have. You guys email us and say where you want to be put. But obviously, there's some students who just skip that whole part, and then so like
Mm,
as they throw us a bone, they're like, okay, you guys throw a concert and we'll count it towards your internship. So like
oh wow.
that one, I wasn't gonna go because for me, I put my hours in. I've worked at Rockin' the Daisies, but I was like,
Yeah.
fine, like these are some of my friends, so let's just all tune in,
Mm,
chip in, and help them out. So that was
mm,
really dope. And funnily enough, it was a small event, maybe like 40 people were there. Funnily enough, if I hadn't come, my friends made the majority of the audience.
Wow.
oh yeah.
So if I did pitch
Yeah.
in, so it was nice, and also I learned a lot more about things that can go wrong. That
Yeah.
that that concert and Rocking the Daisies, my word, things fall apart so
So
quickly,
quickly. Yeah.
so quickly. I remember for Rocking the Daisies, so for us we're interns, so it was majority of the time luck and stuff and just these mundane stuff that they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to like too complex for us because we don't know anything. So I think it's
Yeah.
the band 1945, I think that's what they're called.
1975.
Nailed it.
The British ones.
So they had so much stuff, and then they had a guitar case that we couldn't lift it up the stairs because the stairs were too narrow. So they had to get a
Yeah.
bulldozer to lift it up to one of the stages, and then that way the other guys could come pull it off. And the person who was supervising us, he was like, "You guys stay back because if y'all get hurt in this, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be worth it." So and like, yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
just didn't plan for that happening. They had gotten the
Yeah.
tech right and everything, but the stairway was too narrow for their shit. And then I think Nasty C also at some point he came late. No, the person before him came late, so he had to be moved
Hmm.
up, and it's just chaos.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, like it's really the getting the practical experience for stuff like that.
You learn so
It
fast.
changes, yeah, it
Yeah.
changes the game in
Mm,
your
Yeah.
education completely.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
Completely. And like these are the experiences that made it easier for us to
Mm-hmm.
mitigate like awkward situations where shit was going wrong because we had
mm.
an artist not show up for one of our events.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
wow.
So we had to troubleshoot that
Mm,
because it was our artist
mm,
and it was our event. We were
Yeah.
responsible for that. Other people, other groups' artists were also there,
mm.
but it was our artist that didn't show up to our own event. So we had to like mitigate that situation by giving other artists like extra time
Time.
or
Yeah.
moving people up and ending the event earlier than we expected.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And I'm like, I wouldn't have gotten that sitting in a classroom.
Fair,
No.
You know what
fair.
I mean? To just to rein it back in again because we went from like AI to education to events. First of all, we went from Tuma's music to AI to education
Yes.
topics.
Listen.
And so now I'm gonna bring it back to Tuma's music. Um, where where do you think the future is gonna take you with your music? Like, or where do you want to go in the future? Rather, what are your
Right.
plans? Let's say.
I think regardless of I have a very strong feeling that my fiber is going to be way more successful than, let's say, my internet presence, which I'm okay
Mm-hmm.
with. And I don't
Yeah.
think I'll ever stop making music,
Yeah.
because I do like releasing stuff, even because there'll be days when I finish the song and I come back to it like 2 weeks later, I'm like, this was really good, and I can like sing to it
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. I think my future plans would be like, for me, I want a decent following on the internet, because then again, this is for me just to leverage it, because I do
Yeah.
feel like content creation is going to be a very more viable option in the future. And
Mm.
especially with the way the internet is so fragmented now, it doesn't really matter. Because I remember, like, especially in the earlier days, music had to be curated and catered to, like, will your fan base like this? Now, if
Yeah.
Mm.
your fans rocks with you, they'll just like what you put out. If you're
Yeah.
at least put effort into it, their fan base will just
Right.
rocks with you. So, like, I like that idea, and having that with Fiverr, and then I hope to have at least one more stream of income so I can have three. Because like right now
Yeah.
it's just Fiverr, and in the months where like the cash is low, my whole life is rocked. Like now I can't.
Yeah. 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 Of
So
course.
like I
Yeah.
want to be able to have, if this month is low with this item, I can at least rely on that, and so forth and back and forth like that. So that is my plan.
Okay.
Something still music related, because I don't think
Yeah.
I could do the rigidness of 9 to 5. I've been doing this
Same.
for way too long now. It'll be such a
Yeah.
hard adjustment. And the older you
Yeah.
get,
Yeah.
you know who you are. So it's just tough to change that
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
hopefully that's how I want to go in forward. And I do like working from home, absolutely.
I'm always the one that's gonna say you're gonna blow up one day because I strongly believe it. But I want to know
Mm.
when you do blow up, what do you think you're gonna be like as a famous person?
Oh, arrogant as hell. I'm gonna cut everybody off. I'm gonna be like, this is all me. I never had any help. No, that's very interesting, because I had a friend say this to me as well. And I think now that I'm older, I have a lot of sympathy for even celebrities who blow up young. That's your
Yes.
identity. And
Yes.
then naturally things fall off, everything comes to an end. So I can't imagine the crisis you're in when your whole identity is turned around being famous, and then you're not as famous as you once were. So I think at my
Mm.
age, I think I'll be okay, because
Mm-hmm.
I've been humbled enough by life to be a decent
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I even for me, like, even if I don't blow up, it's fine for me, because like now I'm at a point where I really enjoy making music. Whereas before I was
Yeah. That's
like,
awesome.
I was hungry. I was like, nah, I need to be. I was making music for the wrong reasons. I felt the need to be validated. And
Mm.
Mm.
my friends liked my music. That's all that really mattered for me. Like, if I was making
Yeah.
something and people like it, that's really all
Mm-hmm.
that boils down to. So I think I would be okay.
Me and Chardonnay had this conversation before for like in an episode that we just never released.
Mm,
But I said that I think Chardonnay would also do really well
mm,
Yeah.
as a famous person, but I think
Mm-mm-mm.
I would do terrible.
I think I understand what you mean. I think you just
Yeah.
couldn't take it anymore. You'll just be like, this is a lot. I just
Yeah,
want to
no,
be
yeah,
Yeah.
home.
exactly. So that's what I was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's literally exactly what I said to Chardonnay. I think I would become more of a recluse than I
Yeah,
already am
hundred
because
percent.
I'm
Yeah.
already a homebody,
Yeah,
but I still show up
yeah.
when I need to
Hmm.
show up. You
Show
know
up.
what I mean?
Right.
I
Right.
would not show up when I need to show up.
Mm,
When when you're famous, you're surrounded by other famous people.
mm.
So I must
Hmm.
just look Beyonce in the eyes and be fine.
But let's talk about having a conversation with Beyonce. What are you gonna
No,
say?
no, I'd have to run away. I'd have to be like, I'm so sorry, Beyonce, but my anxiety does not account for this. I was not
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah.
Like, so let's say the podcast really, really blows up,
Mm,
right? And we start getting gang followers.
mm,
People know our faces. People know our names. I'm okay with that because I'm strictly an online persona.
yeah.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, I'm fine with that.
yeah.
But as soon as it starts bleeding into my personal life,
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut down.
Mm.
I'm
I
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
remember
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna
Trevor
be like,
Noah was here
ooh,
a couple of years ago, and that time I was working at the theater NTN, so he was performing there. And I
yeah,
remember my boss, she was um, upset at how cold he was. And at the time, I was like,
mm-hmm.
"Yeah, why is he being so mean? It's not like he's a big. You're successful. Why are you not doing this?" But like with time, I'm
Yeah,
just realizing I can't imagine because he was on a tour. I can't
yeah,
imagine every day you're performing jokes, jokes, jokes. You have to go back. You're most likely at a hotel and you have to think about
yeah,
PR and the marketing stuff you have to do. And then next week, another place. Next week, another place. And I
And
remember
you're
there was one
seeing
look at
different faces.
100%. And there was one time I didn't realize what I was looking at back then. And then so the sound guy leaves and I'm backstage and I'm looking at this dude and he's just looking at the ground. And at the time, I was so confused. But looking back now, I'm like, that dude was just tired. He
yeah.
was fucking tired.
He was
Hmm.
tired and thinking about everything he still had to do.
Right.
Precisely.
It's
And
exhausting
like,
speaking to people you don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, you see
exactly. And
new
like,
faces every day speaking to people you don't know. It's like a
yeah,
lot of
exactly.
energy.
And you get like that rush from performing,
Yeah.
right? So
And
from
then you
being in
come
front of a lot of
Oh
down.
people
my God.
who love you and who love what
Ah,
you do and
yeah.
who are validating everything that you do.
Yeah.
And then you step off that stage and it's
Mm.
just silence. It's
Girl.
vibes. That that is gone, and then you go to a hotel room where
Yeah.
you're most likely alone.
Yeah.
And
100%.
let's talk about the energy you have to put in for every
Crazy.
performance.
Oh my goodness.
There was this one time I was in a singing competition and I think we had to perform twice that
Hmm.
night. But like I was like really young that time and like during my performances like I would just go walk outside, go to my mom or like just even get something to eat and every time I passed like I would always see someone that knows me or someone I know and I was like Chardonnay, Chardonnay, Chardonnay. So I needed to stop and say hey
Mm,
or just chill with them for a while and then go back to the backstage dressing room and then I would have to go perform.
mm,
There was this one night, girl, I had a massive headache. I had a
Mm.
massive headache and I just had like I don't know, like I wasn't seeing straight.
A migraine.
Yes. And I was just like on the side of the stage, like crying, and I had a headache. And they were like, Chardonnay can't come on stage right now. And I was like, no, because it was a lot. Like I just had a
Yeah.
headache and I was like, I couldn't deal with the lights on the stage. I was like, no, no, not tonight. Not tonight.
See, that would
mm.
be me every night.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that was crazy. That was
That would
really
be me all
crazy.
the time. After we're done talking an immense amount of shit, we we transition into like this corner that we call the segment that we call our small talk corner, where normally me and Chardonnay ask each other a question that might have nothing to do with anything, or it might. It just depends on how we feel that day. Um, and then we also each provide like two songs that we've been listening to a lot. So you have the option to then ask us a question if you would like,
Mhm.
and also give us two songs that
Okay.
you would.
Say no
So
more.
if you're down to ask us a question, you may do so now.
Let's say you have someone
Mm-hmm.
big. To what extent, if they said we want to edit the podcast because we don't want our celebrity to look
Mm-hmm.
a certain way. What extent would you allow that freedom to that other guest on your own podcast?
Um, so for me, I would say, let me edit it how I normally edit it, because I
Mm-hmm.
am, like Sharini can tell you, I'm really careful with what I edit out and what I leave in. Um,
because most of the time I would review before she posts, but sometimes I don't get a chance to review, but I'm okay with it because I know she edits very
yeah.
carefully.
So I would say let me edit it, and or let us do it,
Right.
and then I'll send you the edited version. And if there's
Mm-hmm.
anything from there that you want
There.
me to remove, I will remove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
because I have always given Chardonnay that option from the
Yeah.
beginning, despite me being the one that's editing
Okay.
it. I'm like, this is the edited version. Because there's even while we're recording, there's often stuff where we're like, we need to edit this part out,
Mm-hmm.
or I need to start this over
Yeah.
because we like jumbled the words or whatever. So those are the obvious things that I take out. But then sometimes there are things where I'm like, this is going to come across wrong, or it's going to be
Okay.
misinterpreted or taken out
Mm-hmm.
of context.
Mm-hmm.
So I take those types of things out. I'm like very, very careful and deliberate with what I leave in and what I take out.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that regard, I'm super hyper conscious of what other people think. So I'm very careful with it. But in every other way, I don't care what people think. I don't care. I don't care what people in my real life perceive me as. I care what people I do not know perceive me as. But yeah, I think
Okay.
actually we can all give songs just because I said so and I'm nosy. I want to know.
Yeah. So
But we'll give Tuma the honors of going first.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Recently, the song I even just I think 2 days ago, Jack Harlow's song called "Gang Gang
Gang,
Gang."
gang, gang.
It's on his newest album, and it's a song about him talking about his childhood friends who they grew up around with, and then each verse is two different individuals, and one. I think I just don't want to spoil it. Just go check it out. It's pretty short, and the story is pretty
Okay,
fascinating.
okay. Second one.
Yeah. And then my other song is called "Do Not Disturb" by I forget the artist name. I think it's a Nigerian pop artist. I've been really into
Oh,
Afro
it
pop right
slaps.
now. I sing the shit out of that genre, and I cannot sing, but I love crooning out loud.
Okay, Chardonnay. Do you have your two songs?
Ooh, yeah. The first song I've been listening to this song like for a while now, but I just like it, and I don't think I ever mentioned it on a podcast. But I think it's an African artist, Bello Falcao, if I'm saying it correctly. I think so. But anyway, he sings a song called Dibango Dibanga. I don't know if you heard it before. I think I found it on TikTok. I don't know, but I just like the beat and the way that he sings the song. And then my second song is Blessings from Nadia Batson again because I was listening to it with my mom.
So my
And
first
you?
song is called Snooze. It's by Augusti and it features Ryuichi Sakamoto and also Usang.
Okay.
It's a beautiful song, bitch. Yeah, so for people who do not know who Ryuichi Sakamoto is, he is a world-renowned, very very much award-winning, hella accolades composer and pianist. He passed away recently. So I believe that this is his last ever performance, if you will, on a track.
Shark. Okay.
Yeah, and I've spoken about Augusti before. I don't think I've ever mentioned Usang before, but Augusti is also Suga
Yeah.
from BTS. So yeah, that's the song, and it's just really beautiful. And Usang has like a really crazy voice. And
Nice.
then my second song is What It Is, the solo version by Dochi.
That it is.
The solo version by Dochi. That song is just, it's in my head 24/7. But yeah, those are my two songs. Podcast, this is Biru. he's 12. He's 12 years old. Yeah,
He's an old man.
and he loves a little barky bark. So all the barks that you've heard in past episodes, in the bloopers, this is your guy. Okay, well, Tuma, oh my goodness. Thank you for coming back. Not
Yes,
me
thank
making a bunch
you.
of noise while I'm talking. But I was going to say, thank you so much for joining us again on the podcast.
Yes,
Always a pleasure.
Of
We'll
course.
probably invite you back again at some
for
point.
sure.
I feel like I'm just gonna make it a yearly occurrence. So once a year, we're just gonna have
Say
Tuma on
less.
the podcast.
Yeah.
Because
Say
it's been
less.
almost exactly a year ago, give or take a couple of months, that we first
Mm-hmm.
had you on.
Mm.
So
I really like talking to you guys because again, I think it's because we're just all creatives. Like we have, even if our opinions are different, the thought process
Yeah.
is pretty
yeah,
much the same,
it
and it's
is.
fun. Like look, don't get me wrong, I love my friends, but they all work corporate stuff, so like there's not a lot of stuff
Yeah,
we can talk about
Yeah.
in
yeah.
terms
Yeah.
of that. But so it's nice. It's nice to like talk
Right.
freely about this stuff. So
It's
this is
so
fun.
much fun, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear your
Mm.
commissions are commissioning.
Yes.
And things are going well on Fiverr. Very much excited for your new Mew.
Mm.
Whenever you're ready,
Mhm.
we'll always be there, sharing the
Mm.
things, liking the
Yeah.
things, listening to the things.
Thank you so
Of
much.
course, of course. Okay. Well, so first and foremost, follow Tuma on his socials. Tuma, do you wanna share your socials there with the people?
At Wiser Observer on Instagram, the Wiser Observer on TikTok. My Facebook page is down
Yes.
because it was hacked into, but the other two you can follow me on.
Cool.
Cool.
And then in terms of the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications
Yes.
if you feel like it. Where else are we? Spotify. First of all,
Apple Podcast.
yeah, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow the podcast, rate the podcast, share it with your friends and family. And then also our little Instagram and TikTok page is at Don't Touch My Music Pod on both.
Yep.
And we post bloopers over there. We post our music of the week over there. So you'll be seeing mine and Chardonnay's and Tuma's little song recommendations over there. And then, yeah, man, it's been fun. It's been
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. We'll see you
Word.
guys next week.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.